The night sky above Earth shimmered with falling lights. Most people thought they were shooting stars, but Dr. Alan Reeves knew better. He stood on the roof of his small lab in the countryside, watching the sky tremble with color. For months, he had been tracking strange signals, soft pulses that didn't belong to any human satellite. Alan wasn't a famous scientist. He was just a lonely man who once worked for a big medical company before they fired him for wasting time on experiments that didn't bring profit. He had spent the last 3 years trying to build artificial limbs that could connect directly to the nervous system. For him, it wasn't just science, it was personal. His sister Clara had lost her leg in an accident, and he had promised to make her walk again. But tonight wasn't about Clara, it was about something else. At 2:47 a.m., the signal grew stronger. The radar on his desk blinked red. Alan rushed down from the roof, heart pounding. The frequency wasn't random anymore, it was crying. A voice, mechanical yet trembling, was repeating the same word. Help. Help, child. Broken. Alan froze. The message came from beyond Earth's orbit. He hesitated only a moment before grabbing his jacket, his field kit, and his old pickup truck. The radar pointed toward the forest 5 miles away. When he reached the clearing, the smell of burnt metal filled the air. Trees were flattened in a perfect circle, smoke rising like fingers toward the stars. In the center lay something small, a silver capsule no bigger than a car. Sparks flew from its cracked surface. Alan approached slowly, shielding his face from the heat. He heard soft noises inside, like a child sobbing. With his trembling hands, he pulled open the hatch. Inside, curled in a ball, was a small figure. It wasn't human. The creature was pale blue, its skin faintly glowing. Its eyes were large and black like liquid glass, and one of its arms, if you could call it that, was twisted, broken, and leaking a thin stream of silver fluid. Alan gasped. The little being looked no older than 8, terrified and in pain. "It's okay," Alan whispered softly, trying to sound calm. "I won't hurt you." The child blinked at him, trembling. Then in a fragile voice that echoed through the air, it said, "Arm, gone, please, fix." Alan's heart ached. Without thinking, he lifted the small body gently and carried it to his truck. Back in his lab, he laid the alien on a clean table. The strange metallic veins under its skin pulsed like faint lights. He connected his medical scanner. Numbers danced wildly across the screen. The creature's biology was partly organic, partly machine. It was alive. But dying fast, Alan took a deep breath. "All right, little one," he said quietly. "Let's see what I can do." He opened the drawer containing his latest prototype, an artificial arm built from bioalloy and neural fibers. It wasn't perfect, but it might work. He had designed it for humans, not aliens. Still, the structure looked similar enough. For hours, Alan worked with shaking hands. The lab was filled with the hum of machines, the faint glow of monitors, and the alien's slow, fading heartbeat. Sweat ran down his forehead as he connected wire after wire, sealing the new limb to the alien's body. When the last connection sparked, the alien's body arched, eyes wide with light. Alan jumped back, heart racing. The new arm began to move, fingers twitching, then flexing smoothly as if it had always been there. The alien blinked in disbelief. Then it looked at Alan and smiled weakly. "You human." "Vic," it whispered. "You saved me." Alan smiled back, exhausted but relieved. "You're safe now." But before he could say more, the ground shook. A low rumble rolled through the night. The lights in his lab flickered. Alan ran to the window and froze. Above the forest, the clouds parted, revealing a massive shadow descending from the stars. It wasn't a meteor. It was a ship, huge, glowing with royal emblems carved in silver and gold. The alien child's eyes widened in terror. "Queen," it gasped. "She's coming here." Alan's heart pounded as the ship hovered lower, wind tearing through the trees. Who was this queen? And what would she do when she discovered a human had touched, no, altered one of her own children? The lab shook again as the ship prepared to land. Alan's mind raced. He had wanted to save a life, but now, it seemed he had invited something far bigger and far more dangerous. To his doorstep, the queen of another world was coming for him. The air trembled as the ship descended. Trees bent under invisible force and the ground cracked from the pressure. Dr. Alan Reeves stood frozen by the lab window, his heart pounding like a drum. The alien child he had saved clung to the edge of the table, its new arm glowing faintly. The ship stopped above the forest clearing, silent, majestic, terrifying. It was like a floating palace made of crystal and metal, shining with blue lights that rippled like waves. Alan could see strange symbols glowing on its surface, symbols that pulsed in rhythm with the child's heartbeat. Alan turned to the small alien. "Is that your mother?" The child shook its head slowly. "Not mother. Our queen. She commands all." Alan felt a chill. "Then she's here for you?" The alien lowered its gaze. "She will come for me. But when she sees what you did, she may not forgive." Alan didn't understand. He had saved the child's life. What could possibly be wrong with that? A beam of white light shot down from the ship, splitting the forest open. The light expanded, forming a perfect circle on the ground. Then from within it, shapes appeared, tall, elegant figures in shining armor. They didn't walk. They glided. Alan's mouth went dry as one figure stepped forward. A woman taller than any human, her skin pale silver, her eyes like galaxies. She wore a long robe made of light, and behind her 6 floating orbs shimmered in the air. The alien child whispered, trembling, "The Queen of Australis." Alan felt like a man staring at a living myth. The Queen's gaze swept across the trees, the wrecked ship, and finally toward his small lab. Before Alan could react, the door blew open with a flash of blue energy. The Queen and her guards floated inside, silent and graceful. The child let out a small cry. "Your Majesty!" The Queen's voice was calm but powerful, echoing like music. "Little one, you are alive." She looked at the child with something like relief. Then her eyes turned toward Alan. "And this creature preserved you?" Alan stepped forward slowly, raising his hands to show peace. "My name is Alan Reeves. Your child was injured. I repaired its arm. Please, I mean no harm." The Queen's silver eyes glowed faintly. "You repaired it?" Alan nodded. "Yes, it was dying. I used one of my prototypes, an artificial limb." Silence filled the room. Then the Queen's expression darkened. The floating orbs behind her flared red. "You touched royal blood," she said coldly. "You altered a being of Australis without permission. That is forbidden by our laws and by the stars themselves." Alan's stomach turned. "I was only trying to save its life." "Your intentions are irrelevant," she replied. "Your species lacks understanding of our biology. You could have corrupted the child's core essence." The child tried to speak, stepping forward. "He saved me, Your Majesty." "I was dying." "Please, he helped." The Queen raised a hand. The child froze mid-sentence, its voice silenced by a beam of soft blue light. Alan's eyes widened. "Stop, you're hurting it." "I am preserving order," the Queen said. "You do not comprehend the balance we protect." Alan's fear turned to anger. "I may not understand your laws, but I understand life. That child would be dead without me." The Queen tilted her head slightly. "Strange. A human who values another species more than his own survival." Her words echoed with curiosity now, not just anger. She walked closer to Alan, studying him as if he were a strange insect under glass. "You used your knowledge to rebuild what was lost." "Why?" Alan hesitated. "Because I couldn't save someone I loved. I promised myself I wouldn't fail again." For a brief second, the Queen's eyes softened. Then one of her guards whispered something in her ear, and her expression turned unreadable. "Human," she said slowly. "You have broken an ancient law, but your act was not one of greed, it was compassion." She turned to the child. The beam vanished, freeing its voice. The small alien rushed to her and held up its new arm. "See, my Queen, it works. It feels alive." The Queen looked at the glowing limb. It moved perfectly, flexing with grace. The light in her eyes flickered, uncertain. At last she spoke softly. "Perhaps there is more to your kind than I believed." Alan let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. But before relief could settle, the ground outside began to shake again. This time not from the Queen's ship, but from something else rising in the distance. A dark cloud was forming over the horizon, lightning crackling through it. The Queen's face changed instantly, from calm to alarm. She looked at Alan sharply. "They found us," Alan blinked. "Who?" The Queen's voice grew urgent. "Our enemies. The hunters of the void. They followed my ship here." Alan turned to the window. Dozens of dark ships were cutting through the sky like arrows. The Queen faced him. "Human, your planet is now in danger. Prepare yourself." Alan's mind raced. He had saved one life. And now the whole world might pay for it. The night sky turned red. Dr. Alan Reeves stood beside the alien queen, staring at the horizon where dozens of black ships tore through the clouds like angry shadows. Each one moved fast and silent, leaving trails of burning smoke behind. The queen's guards raised their glowing weapons, their armor shifting color as if alive. Alan's hands trembled. Who are they? The queen's eyes glowed faintly silver. They are the hunters of the void, a race without heart feeding on power and fear. They destroy what they cannot control. She looked down at the small alien child, its glowing new arm trembling slightly. They followed my signal. They must have tracked my descent to this world. Alan frowned. You mean they're here because of you? Yes, the queen said, her voice filled with guilt. And now your planet stands in their path. Alan's throat went dry. Outside, the first explosion ripped through the forest, throwing fire into the sky. Trees burst into flames and the earth shook under the blast. The child cried out, clutching Alan's sleeve. We have to move, Alan shouted. The queen raised her hand and a shimmering blue shield appeared around the lab, blocking falling debris. My ship's defense field will hold, for now. Alan looked around at his lab, half destroyed and sparking with power lines. We can't stay here. They'll destroy everything. The queen's gaze hardened. You are correct, human. But I cannot flee. If I run, they will follow. If I stand, they will fall. Alan didn't understand her pride, but he admired her courage. He turned to the alien child. We'll get through this, okay? I promise. The child nodded weakly, its eyes wide with fear but also trust. Then the roof shook. A beam of dark energy struck the shield, cracking it like glass. Alan covered his head as sparks flew. The queen gritted her teeth, raising both hands to strengthen the barrier. Their technology grows stronger, she said. This planet was not built for war. Alan suddenly remembered the military base a few miles north, the one he used to work with before quitting. There's an energy field generator at the old base, he shouted. If we connect your shield matrix to it, we could amplify it, protect the whole area. The queen turned to him, surprised. You would risk your life to aid me? Alan looked out the shattered window at the burning forest. I think it's a bit late to worry about that. The queen stared at him for a long second. Then she nodded. Very well, human. We fight together. She turned to one of her guards. Protect the child. Then she raised her hand toward Alan. Hold on. Before he could ask what she meant, light surrounded them both. The air bent, the ground vanished, and in the blink of an eye they were gone. They reappeared on the cracked road near the old military base. Alan stumbled forward, dizzy. You teleported us? The queen's voice was calm. We shifted through light space, hurry. The base was abandoned, covered in vines and dust. But Alan knew where the generator was, the underground core room. They raced through the corridors, lights flickering as the tremors of distant explosions followed them. When they reached the control center, Alan immediately began typing commands into the old console. If I can sync your ship's frequency, it should link to your energy field. The queen placed her palm on the machine, her eyes glowing. Our technologies differ. I must guide the fusion. Alan gritted his teeth. Then let's do it together. Sparks flew as the old human machine merged with alien energy. Blue and gold light spread through the wires, shaking the walls. The ground outside split open as another blast hit the forest, closer this time. Almost there, Alan shouted. Just a few more seconds. The console beeped. The queen's aura flared bright. Then the entire base lit up with a blinding wave of light. A new shield burst from the ground, spreading outward like a dome of energy. Outside, the first wave of hunter ships crashed into the barrier and exploded, torn apart by the sudden energy surge. Alan fell to his knees, gasping. It worked. The queen stood tall, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. You are a strange one, human. Few outside my world have ever stood beside me in battle. Alan smiled weakly. Guess I'm not like most humans. But before relief could settle, the console behind them sparked violently. Alan turned, alarmed. Wait, something's wrong. The generator core was overheating. The shield was too powerful. It was burning through the base's old systems. If it collapsed, the explosion would destroy everything for miles. The queen's face turned grim. The balance is unstable. The hunters know this. They are forcing the overload. Alan's mind raced. If I can divert the energy, maybe... No, the queen interrupted. If you stay, you'll die. Alan looked up at her, determination in his eyes. Then I'll die making sure that child lives. For the first time, the Queen hesitated. The coldness in her eyes melted into something human, something close to respect. Very well, she whispered. Then we stand together, human, until the stars decide otherwise. As the hunters regrouped for another strike, and the shield flickered between life and death, Alan and the alien queen prepared for the battle that would decide not just one world, but two. Flames burned across the horizon. The once green forest now glowed orange with destruction. Above the chaos, the invisible shield flickered, struggling to hold against the hunters' relentless attack. Inside the old military base, Dr. Alan Reeves and the alien queen stood side by side. Sparks rained from the ceiling as the overloaded generators screamed. The queen's glowing armor pulsed with power, her eyes fixed on the energy readings. The shield is weakening, she said calmly. Their weapons are designed to drain light energy. Alan wiped sweat from his forehead. Then we need to give them something they can't drain. The queen looked at him. And what would that be, human? Alan turned to the small alien child, who stood behind a console watching with wide, frightened eyes. Something alive, he whispered. The child's new arm flickered softly, blue light running through its veins like fire. Alan frowned. Something about it was changing, it was evolving. He rushed over and knelt beside the child. Hey, how are you feeling? The alien looked down, confused. Strange. The arm, it hums. It feels like it's talking to me. Alan's heart raced. The prototype he'd used wasn't made to adapt. But somehow, connected to alien biology, it had grown. Alive, intelligent, something more than metal. The queen stepped closer, sensing the same. What have you done, human? She asked, not in anger but awe. I don't know, Alan admitted. But it's not just a limb anymore, it's learning. The child raised the glowing arm and a faint pulse spread through the air. Every light in the room flickered in response. Alan's monitor flashed symbols, unknown alien code forming faster than human eyes could follow. Then suddenly the queen gasped. This is impossible. That arm carries the signature of the core. Alan blinked. The what? The core, the queen said quickly, eyes widening. It is the heart of our civilization, the living energy that powers our cities, our ships, even our souls. But it cannot be replicated. She looked at Alan with disbelief. Yet you, a human, have done it. Alan shook his head. No, I didn't create it. Maybe your child's body fused with my design and rebuilt it. Before the queen could answer, the ground shook violently. The hunters had landed. Outside, dark figures descended from the burning sky. Tall, armored creatures with faces hidden under black masks. They moved like shadows, carrying weapons that pulsed with void energy. Alan looked out the broken window. They're here. The queen raised her hands, forming a wall of light between the base and the invaders. Protect the child, she ordered. The child's arm began to glow brighter, so bright that Alan had to look away. A deep humming sound filled the air, vibrating through his bones. Wait, he shouted. It's reacting to their energy. Before anyone could stop it, a wave of pure light burst from the child's arm, sweeping across the battlefield. The hunters screamed as their armor melted into black mist. The wave cut through the sky like lightning, destroying half their fleet in seconds. Alan fell back, stunned. What was that? The queen stared at the child in silent shock. Power of creation, she whispered, born from both human and Astralis. But the victory was short-lived. The child collapsed, trembling. The light from its arm dimmed to a weak flicker. Alan rushed to its side. Easy, easy. Don't move. The queen knelt beside him. Its life energy is burning out. The core is consuming it from within. Alan's voice cracked. There must be a way to stop it. She shook her head. No one can control the core once awakened. Not even I. Alan clenched his fists. Then I'll find a way. The queen looked at him quietly, almost softly. You are not of our kind, and yet you speak as if the stars obey you. He stared back. I don't care about the stars. I care about saving that child. Outside, explosions continued as the remaining hunters regrouped, surrounding the base. The queen rose to her full height, her robe of light flaring. They will come again, stronger. We must leave. Alan turned toward her. If we run, they'll just follow. But maybe, just maybe, we can use that energy again. The queen hesitated. It could kill the child. Alan looked down at the small being breathing weakly on the floor. And if we do nothing, they'll kill everyone. The Queen stared at him for a long, silent moment. Then she nodded slowly. You have the heart of a warrior, human. Alan smiled faintly. No, I just hate watching people die. He stood up, eyes burning with determination. Tell me what I need to do. The Queen placed her glowing hand on his chest. If you wish to guide the core, you must link your own energy to it. But know this, if your mind breaks, your body will follow. Alan didn't even hesitate. Then let's begin. As the hunters prepared their final assault and thunder shook the skies, a human and a queen knelt beside a fragile alien child, ready to awaken a power that could save the galaxy. Or end it forever. The lab was filled with light. Not just any light. Alive, pulsing, and heavy with power. Dr. Alan Reeves stood over the alien child, his hands trembling as the Queen of Australis placed her palm against his chest. Her voice was calm but filled with warning. Once the link begins, there is no turning back. Your mind will open to the core, and the core will open to you. Alan nodded. I understand. He didn't, not really. But he knew one thing. He couldn't let the child die. The Queen guided him closer. The alien child lay on the floor, its new arm glowing weakly. Every few seconds, small arcs of energy danced from the fingers, lighting up the room. The air smelled like metal and ozone. Alan placed his hand over the child's chest. The Queen touched the core arm with her other hand. Now, she said softly. The moment their energies connected, everything vanished. Alan's world turned to white. He wasn't standing in his lab anymore. He floated in an endless sea of light and sound. Colors that didn't exist shimmered around him, and shapes of unknown worlds flashed before his eyes. He felt his body dissolve, replaced by 1,000 voices whispering at once. Welcome, creator of the limb. Alan turned, trying to see where the voice came from. But it wasn't one voice, it was many, speaking in harmony like a living chorus. You built the bridge between flesh and light. Who are you? Alan shouted. We are the core, the heart of Australis. The pulse of all that lives in the light. Alan's breath caught. The core wasn't a machine, it was a living network. The consciousness of the entire Australis civilization. Every thought, every memory, every soul was connected to it. The child was born of our light, the voices said. But the hunters tore him from us. You gave him a part of yourself, and in doing so you gave us a doorway into humanity. Alan felt a shiver. A doorway? Yes, your technology, your creation combined with our essence. It has made something new, something neither human nor Australis. He saw images, flashes of cities floating in the sky, crystal towers under golden suns, then endless darkness swallowing them whole, the hunters of the void. They were once of us, the core whispered. Children of light who turned to hunger. They feed on energy, on life itself. And now they seek your world. Alan clenched his fists. Then we'll stop them. You cannot, the core said gently. They are endless. But you human, you may change the balance, Alan frowned. How? Through the bond. The limb connects not just to the child, but to you. Your thoughts shape its power. Alan blinked. You mean I can control it? Not control, guide. If your heart is steady, the light will follow. But if fear rules you, the light will consume you. Before Alan could reply, the vision cracked. The sea of light darkened. Screams echoed through the void. He saw shadows rising. Thousands of hunters tearing through the skies, devouring planets whole. They are coming, the core warned. The Queen cannot hold them alone. Choose now. Run or become what you built. Alan's heart pounded. He thought of his sister Clara, who had once told him that real strength wasn't in fighting, but in saving. He opened his eyes. He was back in the lab. Smoke filled the air. The Queen stood over him, eyes glowing fiercely. You've been linked for too long. Your mind could have broken. Alan gasped, sitting up. His skin burned with faint lines of blue light running down his arms. I saw them. The hunters. I know what they are. The Queen's gaze softened. Then you also know what must be done. Alan looked at the child. Its eyes flickered open weakly. The arm was glowing again, stronger now, brighter. The link had stabilized. Alan touched the glowing metal. I can guide it, he whispered. The core told me how. The Queen stared at him in disbelief. A human guiding the core's power? Impossible, Alan smiled faintly. Guess I've been doing impossible things all night. Outside, the hunters' ships drew closer, firing waves of dark energy that cracked against the shield. The base shuddered. Dust fell from the ceiling. Alan stood up, blue light now pulsing in his veins.
Get the child to safety, he said.
I'll hold them off. The Queen stepped forward sharply. No, human. You'll die. Alan turned to her. His eyes glowed faintly with the same light as the core. Maybe. But if I don't try, everyone will die. The Queen hesitated, torn between command and respect. Very well, she said finally, her voice trembling. Then may the light of Australis guide you, Alan Reeves. Alan nodded once. He stepped outside into the storm of fire and darkness. The hunters descended like demons from the sky. Hundreds of them, their weapons glowing with void energy. Alan raised his hand. The ground beneath him lit up with the same blue light that shone in the alien child's arm. For the first time, humanity answered the stars, with power born from compassion, not conquest. The night screamed. The hunters of the void poured down from the sky like a storm of shadows. Their black armor reflected no light, their eyes burning red with hunger. The ground shook as they landed, hundreds of them forming a circle around the broken base. Dr. Alan Reeves stood in the center of the chaos, his body glowing faint blue. Every breath he took sent ripples of light across the ground. The Queen of Australis watched from behind the force field, holding the child close. Her voice trembled. If he loses control, we all die. The child looked up at her, frightened. But he saved me. He will save us again. Outside, Alan raised his hand. The air trembled. Blue fire danced between his fingers. He didn't know how it worked, only that it did. The core's energy moved through him like a river, powerful and alive. He could feel the hunters before they appeared, their cold energy pressing against his mind. All right, he muttered under his breath, eyes locked on the first line of attackers. Let's see what this light can really do. The first hunter charged, fast as lightning, weapon raised. Alan moved without thinking. His hand shot forward and a beam of blue energy exploded from his palm, cutting through the creature's chest. The hunter disintegrated into ash. Alan froze. His hand shook. He hadn't just destroyed it. He had erased it. Dozens more came forward, screaming in a chorus of rage. Alan focused, spreading his arms wide. A burst of light erupted from his body, forming a dome around him. The hunters slammed into it but couldn't pass through. Inside, Alan's eyes glowed brighter. His veins pulsed with energy that wasn't human. He could feel the thoughts of the Queen, the fear of the child, the hunger of the hunters, all at once. The core was linking him to everything alive. Then a voice echoed in his head. Careful, creator of the limb. The light obeys emotion. Too much anger, and it will consume you. Alan gritted his teeth. I don't have time for careful. He extended both hands toward the hunters. Energy spiraled out of him, forming shapes sharp, bright, alive. They looked like wings. For a moment, Alan floated above the battlefield, surrounded by swirling fragments of light. The Queen watched in awe. He's becoming one with the core, she whispered. A human channeling creation itself. The hunters regrouped, firing beams of void energy. Alan countered instinctively. Each beam met his light and exploded in midair, showering sparks across the ruins. He stepped forward, every movement echoing like thunder, but with every strike something inside him changed. His voice deepened. His skin began to shimmer like metal. The blue lines spreading across his arms grew brighter, crawling up his neck toward his face. Alan heard the core whisper again. Your humanity holds the light steady. Lose it, and you become the storm. He closed his eyes, trying to breathe. Memories flashed. His sister Clara smiling, their old home, the day he promised he'd never give up on saving lives. Those memories grounded him. He opened his eyes again, calm now. I'm still me, he said quietly. And I'm not done yet. He pressed his palms together. The light between them formed a sphere, bright, pulsing, growing larger every second. The ground cracked beneath his feet. Even the hunters paused, sensing something greater than themselves. Then Alan whispered, For every life you've taken. He thrust the sphere forward. A massive wave of light burst out, blinding the sky. The hunters screamed as the energy tore through their ranks, erasing them in flashes of white fire. The shockwave stretched for miles, pushing back the darkness. The Queen shielded her eyes, holding the child tight. When the light faded, the battlefield was silent. The forest was gone, replaced by glassed earth glowing faintly blue. Alan stood at the center, breathing hard. His clothes were torn, his body still glowing, but his eyes looked distant, unfocused. The Queen approached slowly, her voice soft. "You've done what even my warriors could not." Alan looked at his trembling hands. "It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like too much," the Queen nodded sadly. "You've carried the weight of a star. No mortal can hold it forever." Alan looked toward the child, who was watching him with wide, hopeful eyes. "I'm fine," he said gently, though his voice shook. "I'll make sure this ends." But the Queen saw what he couldn't. The glow under his skin was changing, no longer steady blue, but flickering between light and darkness. "He's losing balance," she whispered. "The light and the void are fighting inside him." Alan turned, sensing it too. The air around him hummed like a storm about to break. "I can feel them," he murmured. "The hunters. The ones I destroyed, they're not gone. They're inside the light now. They're trying to pull me with them." The Queen's eyes widened. "If they win, you will become one of them." Alan smiled weakly. "Then I guess I'll just have to win first." And as the stars above shifted, the man who had saved an alien child stood between creation and destruction, half human, half light, and the only thing standing between Earth and the endless void. The wind was still, but the world was not. The battlefield glowed faintly under the dying light of dawn, the air heavy with the smell of burnt metal. What was once a forest was now a sea of glass and ash. At its center stood Dr. Alan Reeves, barely human anymore. Blue light flickered across his skin like veins of lightning. His eyes glowed brighter than the sun rising behind him, and each breath made the air tremble. He looked up at the shattered sky, where the last of the hunter ships drifted in ruins. The Queen of Australis approached slowly, her robes tattered, her voice trembling with awe and sorrow. "Human, you've done what my armies could not." Alan turned to her, his voice echoing, layered with something not entirely human. "I didn't mean to become this," she looked at him sadly. "You carry the core's power. It's remaking you." Alan looked down at his hands. They shimmered like liquid crystal now, the glow beneath his skin pulsing faster. "Then maybe it's time to let it go." The child stepped forward, the small alien he had saved on that first night. "Don't," it whispered. "You'll vanish if you release it." Alan smiled weakly. "Maybe that's what's needed." But before he could speak again, the ground shook. From the ashes rose dark shapes, remnants of the hunters, twisted forms made of shadow and void. Their voices hissed through the air like cold wind. "We are not gone. We are the echo of the void, and the light that burns too long belongs to us." Alan stumbled back, clutching his chest as pain shot through him. The hunter's essence was trying to take control of the light within him. His body became the battlefield now, light against darkness, creation against nothingness. The Queen raised her staff. "We must destroy them before they claim you." "No," Alan gasped. "If you destroy me, the core dies with me." The Queen froze. The core, the heart of her entire civilization, was now part of him. If he perished the wrong way, her entire race would lose its light forever. The child cried out, running toward him. "Alan, please." "Fight it." Alan fell to his knees. Visions flashed before his eyes. His sister Clara smiling the day he built his first prosthetic, the night he promised to never stop saving lives. Then he saw the child reaching for him, that small hand glowing faintly with hope. That was enough. Alan's voice grew steadier. "The core told me once that light obeys emotion. Then maybe I can guide it one last time." The Queen's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Alan stood tall, blue energy swirling around him like a storm. "I'm going to draw the void into me, seal it away. If it consumes me, at least it won't touch your world." The Queen shook her head. "That will kill you." Alan smiled softly. "Some things are worth dying for." Before she could stop him, Alan spread his arms wide. The void screamed, rising from the ground in twisting black tendrils. They wrapped around him, burning and biting, but he stood firm. His glow brightened, fighting back with every ounce of strength left in his human heart. The Queen shouted over the storm, "You cannot contain both light and darkness." "You will break." Alan's voice echoed across the battlefield. "Then I'll break doing something right." The ground split open. The sky turned white, and a massive explosion of light and shadow engulfed everything. For a moment there was no sound, only blinding brightness. When the light faded, Alan was gone. The battlefield was silent once more. The dark void had vanished with him. Above, the clouds parted and sunlight poured through like a blessing. The queen stood motionless, tears in her silver eyes. The child fell to its knees, clutching the ground. He's gone? The queen knelt beside it. No, look. Where Alan had stood, a small crystal floated above the ground, glowing softly with blue light. Inside it shimmered two shapes, one of light, one of shadow, forever locked in balance. The queen reached out her hand but didn't touch it. He became the bridge between creation and destruction. The first of his kind, the child wiped its tears. What will happen to him? The queen smiled faintly. He will watch over both our worlds. His light will keep the void away. She looked toward the sky, her voice soft and full of reverence. He wanted to save life. Now he is life. The crystal pulsed once, brighter than before. Then a gentle wave of energy spread outward, healing the scorched land, restoring color to the burned soil. Flowers began to bloom again, small, fragile, but alive. The child whispered, "Goodbye, Alan." The queen placed her hand over her heart. Your name will be sung among the stars, human. The one who built not just a limb, but a future. As the sun rose over the reborn earth, the crystal floated higher, vanishing into the sky, its light becoming a new star. And somewhere in that endless light, Alan Reeves smiled.